everyone, welcome welcome back to my lectures on automata theory. So as I have told in the previous lecture that we will be discussing all the topics of the automata. In the last lecture, that was the first lecture, I told that how can we recognize a particular language that contains all the strings uh, starting with the alphabet A. There is one more thing which I would like to tell you all before continuing the further examples, and that is we can also have made a particular state diagram in which we would have not taken pain for all those strings that are not starting with A. That is, if we are going to encounter an A as an initial alphabet of a particular string, then we are going to consider that string. But for all those strings which are not starting with A, we are not going to take any pain. If the string is starting with an A, we will be going to show the transition, and after that it can have any number of A's or B's. It would be there in the accept state. So actually this particular state transition diagram is equally capable of the state diagram which I have drawn in the previous lecture, in which I had shown the alphabet B also, initial alphabet B also, and I have told you that if we are going to encounter a B as an initial alphabet of any string, then we are going to transit into a state that is a dead state. And after that, if we are going to encounter any A or B, we are not going to move ahead of this state. We are going to stay in this state because we know that now it is not possible for us to reach the accept state, as it is as these strings are violating the condition for belonging to the language specified. Okay, so you all might be remembering that the language that was accepting all the strings starting with the alphabet A. So these were the examples which we had discussed. Now over here one more thing, generally we can use the symbols like the Q0, Q1 to represent the state. Q0, you can have one as Q1, this is Q2. You can name them as Q, because this is a convention. Most of the places where you are going to study, or you are going to encounter automata, you are going to encounter these alphabets as the state symbols. So state is going to be represented by these alphabets only, Q0, Q1. Although you can represent the state by any alphabet, but this is a convention. It is not necessary that you should use these alphabets as a state symbol, but for representing a particular state, because at most of the places people use this type of convention. They use Q0 for the initial state, then Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3, and so on. Sometimes we also have this. We can have this as a final state, so we can also represent this as QF. So F over here, the suffix is just defining that this particular state is a final state. Now, these two automatas are equally capable. We can accept the strings starting with A from this automata also and from this one also, but in this we are representing all the strings. We are representing all the strings, whether it is starting with an A or with any other alphabet of the set of the alphabets which has been given to us. Over here we know that the set of alphabets is A comma B. So the main point over here which I am emphasizing upon is that capability. So both these machines are equally capable. So both these are equally capable. Somebody asked that is this machine more powerful or this one? So in terms of the capability, both are equally capable. Uh, and now we should continue with some more examples. Uh, I would be trying to make both the options available to you for all the examples which are going to be discussed. Now the example which was discussed in the previous class was a language which was infinite. There were infinite number of strings that were starting from the alphabet A, but we can also have a particular language that has finite number of strings belonging to it. Suppose if somebody asks that just make a diagram, state transition diagram, or we say that we draw a finite state automata for the strings which are, sorry, for the string A only. Suppose if I say that I want a language that contains only a single A as a string, only A. So out of the infinite number of combination of the alphabets, we want only a single string which is just a single A. So in this case, we know that this A over here would be encountered as a first alphabet because we start from left to right. So if we are going to encounter an A, then we are going to be there in the accept state. But in case if we are going to be getting any other alphabet, so if we are going to get any other alphabet other than A after this particular alphabet, then from the final state we have to move ahead towards that state. So this particular state, whether we encounter A or B after this particular A, we are going to be there in the that state. You know that it is a trap. So after this, if we are going to be encountering any A or B, so we would be remaining in this particular state. Similarly, if we encounter B as the first alphabet, then also what we have to do is that we have to enter into this particular trap, and we're not going to move anywhere else because we know that it is not possible for us to anyhow reach to this from this state to the final state. We can name these states as we wish. We can use Q0, Q1, Q2, etc. for these. Similarly, if I want to uh, make a straight transition diagram, yeah, in which we are going to consider only the strings which are going to be belonging to our language. We do not bother for the strings which are not belonging to our particular language. So what we can do is that we know that we are getting an A, and then after that we are reaching the final state. Okay. Now, one more thing, first of all, I would like to tell you all is that suppose if we have a particular string, so a string can be of any length. So what happens is that we know that any string of any length uh, would be just having the alphabets, would be just a combination of the alphabets and which has been given to us. Suppose in this particular example, we know that the set of the alphabet is A and B only. So we have only these two alphabets. So if we are going to consider any string and belonging to any language, then that string would be a combination of these two alphabets only. What happens is that the length of the string uh, we have for each string we have its length, and we can say that suppose if we have the strings of length 0, so there is a special symbol. This represents that this set is containing all the strings of length 0, so we are neither having any occurrence of A or B. So for this particular string we represent this as uh, epsilon, and this is a string that has zero number of A's and B's. This is another string. So this is a special symbol. We know that this is epsilon. So epsilon is going to represent the string which has no alphabet, no occurrence of alphabet, and we can also represent this by this lambda also, because in few books we have this and in few books we have this. So both, I'm telling you that if there is a string that has no alphabet, so we can represent it like this symbol or like this one. Similarly, for all the strings of length 1, we have represent over here 1 above the sigma symbol. So this represents that it is a combination of only a single alphabet. So for a single alphabet, we can either have A or we have B. Similarly, we can have combination of strings of length 2. So for strings of length 2, we can have A's and B's, any combination of A's and B's. So we have AA, AB, BA, BB. So necessarily we have to consider the strings of length 2 only. So this is just telling us that okay, the first and the second alphabet both are belonging to the set sigma. For this we have written sigma over here, and there are how many combinations? So we have the combination of length 2. So for this we have written 2 over here. Similarly, we can have combinations of length 3 of the alphabets belonging to the set sigma. So we can have of length 3 also AAB, ABA, ABB. Similarly, after this we can have B as the initial symbol, and we have BAA, BAB, BBA, and triple B, and so on. In fact, there is a particular representation which represents the union of all these. So this is like sigma 0, sorry, 1 union sigma 2 union sigma 3, and so on. So for this particular representation, we have the union of all the sigmas. So over here, this necessarily is the set of the strings, like we have epsilon, we have A, we have B, we have AA, we have AB, and so on. So as you know that we can have infinite. We have suppose for this we have two strings remaining, BB, and after that we can have the strings of length 3 and so on. So this is a sigma star. So possibly sigma star is the set of all possible strings that can be formed by the given set of alphabet. We say sigma star is the set of all possible strings that can be formed by the combination of the alphabet set sigma. Okay, sigma star is a set of all possible strings that can be formed by the combination of the alphabet set sigma. of the elements of the, I should have written elements of the alphabet cell. Okay. Possibly there is another notation that we use, and that is sigma plus. So actually, this doesn't contain the null string. We can have A, B, A, B, 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 and so on. We can also say that sigma star is equals to sigma plus union sigma 0, or we can say that sigma plus is equals to sigma star minus sigma 0. So hopefully you have understood all this. Now, out of all the possible strings, we have to consider the strings which are belonging to a particular language. Suppose we have somebody asked us to just recognize a language that has a single string AA, string AA. Now, this is the language, so we can say that this language has only one string AA. In this case, what we will have to do is that we have to do two transitions. First one will be when we encounter the first alphabet as A. Now we have got the first alphabet as A. So after this, we want just the second alphabet, and that alphabet should also be an A. So after encountering the second alphabet as an A, we are going to be reaching to the final state. We are not going to take pain for the strings which are not belonging to the language. We are just going to be concentrating on the strings which are belonging to our language. What happens is that we can just name them U1, and this is the final state U2. We can have a diagram, a state transition diagram, in which we will be considering all those strings also which are not belonging to this particular given language. What we are going to do is that in addition to this, suppose if we are going to be encountering a B over here, so where we have to go? Now we know that since we have encountered a B, over here also we can encounter a B. After this also we can encounter A or B. So we know that if we are going to be encountering either a B over here, or we are going to be encountering a B after this A, or we are going to be encountering either A or B after AA. So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to be entering into a state, and in this, after this, if we are going to be encountering either A or B, we are not going to be going any other place. We will be staying over here only, because we know that there is no possible way for us to reach this state now. So we are not going to take any further pain. So these two are the representation of the same language L. Necessarily, this one is not taking pain for the strings which are not belonging to this particular language, but this one is taking pain for all those strings also which are not belonging to this language. And the main reason is that it is going to be determining this particular representation, this particular representation of the finite state automata is going to be determining the possible all possibilities, all possible determining the final state, the final state, or we can say determining the transition for all possibilities. So we know that this particular representation of the finite state automata is going to be determining the transition for all possibilities. Transition for all possibilities. The main point over here is that it is be going to determine. So for this reason, we say that this particular representation is a deterministic finite automata. We say deterministic finite automata, while this one is a non-deterministic non-deterministic finite automata. We represent in short this one as the NFA. Some places might be encountering NDFA. Very rarely we encounter this as a short for this one, but it's not an issue because we know that it is a non-deterministic finite automata from this representation also. And from this also we know that it is a non-deterministic finite automata. In this we are not going to determine each possibility, but in this it is a deterministic representation. So we are going to be determining all possibilities. The particular representation of the finite automata is going to be determining all possible conditions for all possibilities. Okay. Let us be considering few more examples. I have already told that both these are equally capable. So we will be having a formal proof. Now suppose if somebody asks us uh, just recognize the strings of a language that are ending with the alphabet A. Now we are going to be having the language comprising of all possible strings over with so we are going to be considering a language that comprises of all strings that are ending up with the alphabet A. In this case, whether the first alphabet is A or B, we don't have any problem, but the last, sorry, but the last alphabet should necessarily be an A. So once we encounter this A, we must reach, we must reach the final state. So if in this case we are going to encounter any A or B after this, then we should be waiting and uh, waiting for the last alphabet, and we should be going to the final state only if the last alphabet is an A. For this reason, what we are going to do is that whether the first alphabet is an A or B, we are not going to move ahead. We are not going to move ahead for any alphabet prior to the last alphabet. This is the last alphabet. So for the last alphabet, whatever alphabets we are getting, we are staying on this particular state only. But for the last alphabet, we must move ahead and we must reach the final state. After this, we cannot have any other alphabet. So for this particular reason, this is one way for representing this particular language. Another way is that now this one was the non-deterministic way, but in deterministic we are going to consider each and every string. In this case, what we do is that if we are going to be encountering an A, we will be thinking, is this the last A? Might be that it is the last A, and we will be reaching the final state. But in case this is not the last A, what we are going to do is that we are we, we are going to be considering that alphabet. If that alphabet is again an A, we have no problem. We will be staying to the final state because we know that this is the last alphabet and we are staying over here only. This is the final state, and we are going to be accepting this string because it is ending up with an A. After this state, if there is another A, then also we will be staying over here only. So for any string that has only A's, there is no problem. For a single A or multiple number of A's, there is no problem. But if after this A we encounter a B, then we will be moving back to this particular state because now again we want to know that whether it is the last alphabet or there is any other alphabet ahead of this. If this is the last alphabet, then we are not be staying at the final state. Why I'm representing this way because there is one more point, because we know that in finite state in finite state automata, the string ends in the final state, we say that the string is accepted, else it is rejected. What I mean to say is that if at the end of the string we are reaching the final state, then we say that the string has been accepted. If we are not reaching the final state at the end of the string, like in this case, we are reaching in some other state other than the final state, then we are not going to say that this string is accepted. Okay, else it has been rejected. So else, since this string, suppose if the string is just AB, so AB got the final state. Okay, let us be represented by QF. So since this string is not ending up in the accepted state, so this has been rejected. There is important point over here is you have to note that there is no specific reject or we can say that representation representation of the reject state for finite automata means we are not having any specific reject state. If we are ending up, our string is ending up in any other state other than the final state, then that string is being rejected. So that there is no specific representation of the reject state for finite automata and any string that ends in any other state other than the final state is rejected. So any string that ends up in any other state other than the final state is rejected. So this string has been rejected, but there are many more possibilities. Suppose if the string is not starting with A. For that, what we are going to do is that we are going to have, okay, if the string is not starting with an A, so we have no problem. We will be staying over here only. We know that what we want is that we want an A at the end of the string. We're not encountering an A, we are encountering a B. So we will be waiting for an A. And might be there is an A ahead of this B. So we don't know that this B is the last B or there is any other alphabet after this B also. So what we are doing is that we are just waiting for any other alphabet